the most important thing of the game is the fan.
Yeah.
And if they're not watching, you can't keep your head in the sand. You got to say, what are we doing wrong? We going to have to do something. I mean, ratings are down, down, down.
I've done a number of these topics in the past, recent past, I should say, and that's because I'm not a casual NBA fan. I've been watching for a very long time. It's easy for me to dissect and really get into depth why I think these issues are happening. So let's look at in recent years what the NBA has been trying to do to make things more exciting. Number one, they put the play-in tournament into effect, which I think was a good idea because it actually had playoff implications, as opposed to the NBA Cup, where it's just a little bit of money that these players could get relative to what they already make on average. As a result, it's not driving people to go watch the game. I talked about this whole topic in more depth if you want to check that out. Then back in 2018, they changed the All-Star format to Team LeBron. They did that for a few years, team this guy and that guy. They draft players. That didn't really work out. In 2024, they revert back to East versus West. Now they changed the All-Star game again for 2025 into some kind of tournament. Kevin Durant recently called them out. The NBA is just trying idea after idea after idea. This is the main point that I'm trying to get. There's obviously some concern as to what's going on, and nothing seems to be working. There's statistics that show the NBA has been down in viewership 48% since 2012. Please put a pin in that. I'm going to bring that up again to debunk a narrative, in my opinion, that's not necessarily true. It also ties into a recent interview that Adam Silver did, I believe just before the NBA Cup championship game, where he was talking about the viewership, game style ratings, what's going on in the NBA. And he said some things that made me think either he's being dismissive a bit or minimizing what the fans are complaining about, or he truly just doesn't think it's that much of an issue. But that being said, let me play a clip for y'all that ties into everything I'm about to share with Adam Silver and the perception that's floating around.
Inside the NBA, the show that everybody loves, has done more damage to the NBA in the last decade than anything. Forget about this woke and left and right.
Yeah.
Inside the NBA goes on every week and just trashes players, trashes the style of play. Colin, you look at any other show, MLB Network, NFL Network, these shows, our network, we're all positive. We're excited. We're talking about the games. Inside the NBA, they just hammer the players.
That is a sentiment that I've seen often. Why are we complaining so much about the NBA product? Let these players live. They're some of the best in the world. We're watching basketball at its highest profession. We need to encourage the players, build them up, those kind of things. But the problem is, if you're a fan and you're watching something, a product that you have invested in, you pay tickets to go see, and you don't like what's happening, and you have somebody saying, hey, just be happy that you get to watch basketball, well, that's gonna just frustrate people even more and make it feel like you're not taking into account how we feel about what's going on, and then you're asking us to tune in. As much complaints as there is out there, people just want to see great basketball, period. They know inside the NBA is not going to be positive just for the sake of trying to market the NBA and stay in its good graces. As a result, you appreciate watching people who are representing the NBA, obviously former players, while still being honest, and it doesn't make the fan feel like they're being misled. Like, for example, I've heard countless of times people say online or on TV, man, we're watching some of the most skilled players in NBA history. The way that they could dribble, shoot, the three-pointers they're taking, it's just a whole nother level. Yet and still, since 2012, the statistic that I mentioned, the ratings have been down since then, over a decade. And if you look at when Steph Curry first came in the NBA, he didn't start leading the league in three-pointers made right away. He wasn't even top 5 his very, very first few years. You could check it. The reason I'm bringing that up is because Steph Curry won his first championship in 2015. That set the precedent to say, oh, we could win shooting three-pointers even though everyone doesn't have a Steph Curry. It still changed the way the game was played. However, as I said, the numbers and ratings have been down, but they're telling you this is the greatest era ever, and we're just so happy to see what's going on. The NBA is the best, but the numbers aren't reflecting that even after Steph Curry broke the mold for teams to go in this three-point shooting space. Now I'm going to read you an article from Tim Bontemps of ESPN. This was Adam Silver being interviewed by a bunch of reporters just before the NBA Cup game, and I quote, "The answer is yes. We are having many discussions about the style of basketball being played," Silver told a small group of reporters Tuesday night before the championship game of the league's second annual NBA Cup between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Milwaukee Bucks. "I would not reduce it to a so-called three-point shooting issue. I think we look more holistically at the skill level on the floor, the diversity of offense, the fan reception to the game, all of the above. I agree, part of the issue is there's no diversity on the offensive end. And I look at a team like Phoenix Suns, for example. They have a bunch of small forwards, shooting guards. They recently finally got a couple point guards, I think, on the team, or at least one. So he scores a point talking about the diversity of offense being an issue. However, the fan reception that he mentioned has been there's too many three-point shooting. If they're reducing it to just that because it's that big of an issue, you got to listen. But I'll continue. I think the game is in a great place. I love watching the games, and I think we have some of the most skilled athletes in the world competing. And it's unfair, I think, to the players to lump them into categories as three-point shooters or a mid-range shooter or big man playing under the basket. It's an amazing game. Here we go once again with what I was just saying earlier. They're trying to push a positive narrative, just keep encouraging the brand, market as the greatest, but people aren't feeling that way. They're having issues and it's showing up in the ratings. Just to put this in a simple metaphor, imagine you have a delivery business and you have a number of customers constantly complaining that whenever they get their product, there are scratches, dents on it, the packaging that you're using is not protecting it fully, whatever reason that you could think of. And then that company comes out and says, man, you know what, at the end of the day, we got to focus on the fact that we got the best drivers and they deliver it on time and you still get your product what you ordered. What do you think is going to happen eventually if they keep taking that approach to company? They'll probably end up losing some sales. It's not that complicated. And it's not just the fans who are starting to tune out, by the way. It's also the head coaches. When Joe Mazzulla was asked about the NBA ratings taking a dive, he said, quote, I add to it. I don't watch NBA games anymore. I'm just as much of a problem as everyone else. Now, there is some irony in this because on one hand, the Boston Celtics do lead the league in three-pointers made and three-pointers attempted at 51. And on the other hand, Joe Mazzulla has mentioned he wants to bring fighting back in the NBA, or he wants to see it come back, at least from a physical standpoint, more aggression. That's something that Adam Silver didn't mention as well, the physicality declining. Other people saying that the game does look too soft. Personally, that's one of my main issues that I have with the NBA, the way it's called, the fouls. We're spending way too much time looking at somebody accidentally extending their arm a little bit and it hits someone on the side of their head and all of a sudden they're on the floor. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the referees are looking to see if it's a flagrant. It's a little bit too much for me, man. There is one final but very important thing Adam Silver said in this article that he was quoted on that I want to get into myself. He goes on to mention, I would just say, to say it directly, ratings are down a bit at the beginning of the season, but cable television viewership is down double digits so far this year versus last year. We're almost at the inflection point where people are watching more programming on streaming than they are in traditional television. And it's the reason why for our new television deals, which we're entering into next year, every game is going to be available on a streaming service. And then he goes on to say that at the end of the day, we're an entertainment product and the vast majority of people consume us through media, not in person. A couple of things. Number one, if you're focusing too much on the entertainment aspect, that's when your game starts looking like the NBA All-Star game itself, which has already been happening. Number two, when it comes to streaming services, a lot of people are just watching the highlights, especially the younger generation. They get on YouTube, IG, watch top 10 dunks, top 10 crossovers, this and that, and it's over. They're not actually sitting down and watching the games that TV stations are paying billions of dollars to license to showcase on their network. That is the main issue that they're going to have as well. Y'all let me know in the comment section what you think about this video, Adam Silver, what I'm saying, what Adam Silver himself has said, other players critiquing the game, Kevin Durant, the All-Star thing. Just let me know in the comment section below. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. Salute for listening. Peace.